the ways of your Torah, your light. We turn to verses from the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat. We begin on page 21, Psalm 95.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma panav betoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmihirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Ki el gadol Adonai, umelech gadol al kol Elohim, asher beyado mekre aretz, v'to'afot hari'im lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai.
We continue with Psalms from Kabbalat Shabbat on page 25, Psalm 96, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Let us sing unto the Eternal a new song.
Yallay, lallay, lay, yallay, lallay, lay, yallay, lallay, lay, yallay, lallay, yallay, lallay, lay, yallay, lallay, lay, yallay, lallay, lallay, lay, lallay, lay, 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 lallay, lay, 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 lallay. Lay, 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 yay, lay, 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 shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, tasru miyom leyom yeshuato, sapru v'goyim כבודו בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים ילי, כי כל אלוהי העמים נלילים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, הוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו, אבו לאדוני משפחות העמים, אבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, זהו מנחה ובואו לחצרותיו, יאי לי לי, יאלי לי לי, יאלי לי לי, יאלי לי 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 לי, יאלי שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שלום.
The Kabbalat Shabbat service consists of psalms, and embedded in the middle, or towards the end of the first collection of psalms, is Lecha Dodi. There are 6 psalms representing each of the days of the week that has passed. Then there is a closing psalm for Shabbat, which is actually 2, 92 and 93. And then right before we get to the psalm for Shabbat, we sing this song, Lecha Dodi. The psalms, of course, are biblical and ancient. Lecha Dodi is not as old. It comes to us from the late Middle Ages, from the mystics of Safat in the 16th century, and it is imbued with imagery from the Kabbalistic or mystical tradition in Judaism. And the refrain of Lecha Dodi is, Lecha Dodi, come, my friend, my beloved. Let us greet Shabbat, personified as a bride, as a queen. Let us bring the presence of Shabbat inside. And tradition is that the Kabbalists would go out into the fields in the northern Galilee and Sfat, Tiberias, and they would sing songs and then usher Shabbat back with them into their homes and synagogues. So who is the friend that we are inviting to come with us to greet Shabbat? Lecha Dodi, come my friend, come my beloved. There are various interpretations, otherwise it wouldn't be Jewish, right? So one possibility is that it is the friends who are with us. Come friends, let us greet Shabbat, let us bring Shabbat into our community. Another tradition sees the beloved, the Dod, as God. We are inviting God to join us in the celebration of Shabbat. We're bringing God into our Shabbat, the gift that God bestowed on us, we now want to share with God. And then a mystical tradition says that the friend is each of us, the inner each of us. We are inviting our Shabbat soul to emerge and to join us. There is a tradition, of course, that on Shabbat, the Jew is endowed with a neshama yetera, often defined as an additional soul. More accurately, it's an expanded soul. So we are inviting our soul to expand, to grow, to become its full self as we now together usher in Shabbat. Lecha Dodi, come, my friend, let us greet Shabbat. Let us bring the presence of Shabbat to us. Page 41, 43, and 47.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומיצאי מתוך כהפך, רב לך שבט בימך ברכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בני שי בית הלחמי, קורבה נפשי גאלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה, בואי כלה בואי כלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה,
פני שבת נקבלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Now that we have welcomed the presence of Shabbat, let us exchange greetings of Shabbat Shalom and then join in the singing of Hine Matov Umanaim. How good, how pleasant it is to come together.
Shabbat Shalom. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov,
shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Well, as we have welcomed one another and welcomed Shabbat, is the young man in the back a visitor with us tonight, a guest? Oh, there you go. See, you have to uncover. Then we continue with the Baruch Hu. As good friends and members of the community, we come together in worship. Page 57, the call to prayer.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. We just sung Hine Matov, and I think Hine Matov is one of 3 places in the Bible where we have the phrase Matov. And the other 2 places we're going to hear tomorrow in our Torah portion. And I'm going to speak about that. That Balaam says Matovu, which we'll get to certainly this weekend. And in the Haftarah, the prophet Micha says, Matov, like what does God require of you? What good is the religious life? And he tells us that it is to seek justice and to be merciful and to walk humbly with God. And so Matov, what we just sang together, is how wonderful it is that we can all be together in unity. And so that Matov appears once in the Torah, once in the words of the prophets, and once in the writings, the songs of the Psalms. So Matov, Hine Matov. We continue on page 59, page 60, as we read together the first blessing after the Baruch Hu. Praised are you, God, ruler of the universe, who has ordained the rhythm of life, The day with its light calls to activity and exertion. But when the day wanes, when with the setting of the sun colors fade, we cease from our labors and welcome the tranquility of the night. The subdued light of the moon and stars, the darkness and the stillness about us invite rest and repose. Trustfully we yield to the quiet of sleep, for we know that while we are unaware of what goes on within and around us, our powers of body and mind are renewed. Therefore, at this evening hour, we seek composure of spirit. We give thanks for the day and its tasks, and for the night and its rest. Praised are you, God, who brings on the evening.
El חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo.
המעריב הרבים.
Amen. As we've given thanks for the universal gifts of the changing of times and seasons, we give thanks for the unique gift of Torah, page 63, Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך לא תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen. We rise for the recitation of the Shema and V'ahavta, our statement of God's unity and uniqueness, page 65.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם בבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently with on the following pages with the biblical selections.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם באמת.
You may be seated. We continue on page 79 with our Song of Freedom, the words that Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang as they crossed the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך רעו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Help us to lie down, dear one, our God, in peace, and let us rise again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. And as we call upon the blessings of divine protection, we think of those who are in need of healing, healing of body, healing of mind, healing of spirit. We think of those members of our community and loved ones, Shirley Steinman, Larry Baker, Brian Donor, Amy Maurer Martin, Jane Bashir, Aaron Greenwald, Ron Safran, Ariel Shoshana Bat Esther Zelda, Andrew Whitson, Dan Stillerman, Frida Burns, Herb Heller, Dr. Martin Tamler, Sandra Siegel, Freddie Kassif, Carol Tandy, Carl Goodfellow, Bob Borns, Chuck Bader, Elliot Nelson, Dee Schwartz, Lila Miller, Ron Elberger, Bob Diskin, Sarah Bat Miriam, Jonathan Ben Meir, Martin Faust, Dietra Mills, Keith Matters, Lynn Mata, Alan Cohen, Paul Siegel, Rory Sandberg, Amanda Batia, Frank Messenger, Vince Warrenberg. If there are those whose names you would like to add to our communal prayers, please do so as my glance passes yours. We pray for strength and healing, that all who are in pain are quickly and speedily healed. We continue with our Misha Beirach, our prayer for healing.
Misha Beirach Avotenu Mekol HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu Mekol HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We continue on page 85 as we sing words from the book of Exodus that declare Shabbat as the symbol of the covenant between God and the people of Israel.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, Shabbat vayinavash v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We continue on page 87. Please rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש מדבר בעלמא דברכנו וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגבה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירה בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
We remain standing for the silent Amidah, pages 91 through 107. Please use the traditional words of prayer and the prayers of your own heart during this time of silent reflection.
עושה שלום לבנותיו, הוא יעשה שלום
עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Please be seated. Well, Rabbi Hal already pointed to the occurrence of the verse that we not only read from the Torah, but chant in many liturgical settings as the opening prayer upon arriving to the synagogue or starting a service, Ma tovu ohaleha Yaakov. And these words are spoken by Bilam, who is a Gentile spokesperson, prophet, and contrary to the wish of the king of Moab, Balak, who wants him to go and curse Israel. Instead, Bilam speaks words of praise, and those words are capsulated in that famous refrain, "How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel." I think it is a fitting coincidence that it is this very week when we read those verses by a Gentile leader among the nations, as Bilam may have been in his period, that our own president, Biden, has gone to Israel and spoken words of blessing and of praise and of friendship and of promise and hope. And the visit of American presidents to Israel has become a standard. It only began 26 years after the establishment of the state. Prior to Nixon, no American president had visited Israel, Jerusalem, in a visit of state. But since Nixon, every president has gone to Jerusalem. So Biden is following a well-established tradition, but people have observed that there were some significant special gestures during his visit that are very encouraging and promising. Of course, Biden was not just visiting Israel and Jerusalem, he was on his way to Saudi Arabia, and that was the main course of the visit. Unlike a predecessor, President Obama, who went first to Egypt and bypassed Israel, President Biden went to Israel on his way to Saudi Arabia. The results of this trip will continue to unfold, and they are multi-layered, both for Israel and for the Middle East. There are political implications, there are diplomatic implications, and there are strategic implications. Very important for the United States to maintain not only a presence, but a strategic base in that area, and to continue bringing Israel not only into dialogue with its Palestinian neighbors and a hopeful resolution to that, which was hinted at but not pushed during the words of Biden, that is, kind of allowing the parties to move at their own pace in their addressing their needs. But the other important component of that was bringing more Arab countries into dialogue and into relationship with the State of Israel. So let us hope that there are other developments that we do not see immediately, but which will evolve from this encounter. And as Bilam did, Ma tovu haleha Yaakov, speak words of blessing upon Israel, we hope that the words that were spoken, exchanged, will bring about blessing. And in that spirit, we sing the words, Ma tovu haleha Yaakov, that are at the core of this week's Torah reading. Did we print them, Cantor, or do we
They're
know
on
them?
page 141.
They're in the prayer book, page 141.
They're in Hebrew or in transliteration, whatever is your comfort. Ma tovu ohaleka Yaakov, ohaleka Yaakov, mishkenoteka Yisrael. Ma tovu ohaleka Yaakov, ohaleka Yaakov, mishkenoteka Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avul vitecha eishtakave el hekal kodshecha beyiratecha. Ma tovu ohaleka Yaakov, ohaleka Yaakov, mishkenoteka Yisrael. Ma tovu ohaleka Yaakov, ohaleka Yaakov, mishkenoteka Yisrael.
So the word ma means at least two things in Hebrew. We use ma during the Passover Seder, right? what begins during the Passover Seder? Ma nishtana halayla hazeh. And how do we translate that? It is often translated as, why is this night different from all other nights? As though the ma is a question. It is not. It is an exclamation. It is, how different is this night from all other nights? Just like Matovu Ohaleha Yaakov, how good are your dwelling places, O Israel. So the word ma in that context is exclamatory rather than a questioning. So the kid looks around, the Passover Seder, looks, things are different tonight. How different is this night? Not what is the difference between this night and other nights. So that's a good idea to keep. And then it occurs to me that a lovely song of peace could be made for Matovu as well. If at the end of Mishkenoteha Israel, we added Ve'ishmael. See? Your dwelling places, O Israel, and we add Ishmael. Ishmael is the name for the Arab peoples in the biblical world and thereafter. So the descendants of Israel, the descendants of Ishmael, that they may dwell in pieces, in habitations of peace. Let us continue with the Kaddish Shalem, page 115. A prayer for peace at the end of all of this is a good idea.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך חדותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחייתך בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונקמתה תאמירן בימה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלתון ובעתון דכל בית ישראל קודם מבוהדי ושמי ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב מן שמי וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen.
Please turn to page 119. We're going to invite Rabbi Hal Shevitz to raise the Kiddush cup and lead us in Kiddush. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon yinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu vacharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon Hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat
Amen.
Chaim.
Chaim.
Chaim. We're going to raise the challah. That's a very wrapped challah.
It is. There we go. Hello. Hello, friend.
Somebody wanted to foil our plans.
That's right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Amen. Take an end.
All right.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
We remain standing and continue on page 121, Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקינו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו כהנים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ועושה לארץ, ומושב יקרו השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומם הוא אלוהינו, אין עוד אמת מלכותו וסולתו וכתוב בתורתו ובחטאים, אין עוד על כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
Mourners and those who observe Yortzeit for a loved one, please remain standing. We continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 131. And in reciting the Kaddish, we affirm our awareness of holiness in our lives and recognize that so much of our experience of God's goodness, grace, and love comes to us through those whose lives have touched our own. On this Shabbat, we remember loved ones who have died in recent days and weeks: Larry Harrison, Barbara Mills, Howard Lovinger. We keep them in our hearts alongside those for whom we mourn, and those the anniversary of whose death occurred during the past week, as in loving testimony to the faith that links the generations. Those who mourn and all who remember sanctify God's name in the words of the Kaddish. Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei Rabbah. Beolma divra kirute veyamlich malchute. Bechayechon uvyomechon uvechayei dechol Beit Israel. Ba'agala uvizman kariv veimeru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam uleolmei olmaya. Yitbarach veyishtabach veyitpa'ar vitroman veyitnaseh veyithadar veyitale veyitalal shemei dekudsha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata veshirata tushbechata venechemata da amiran be'alma veimru. Amen. Yehei shlamar rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Israel veimru. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. May God, the source of peace, grant comfort to all who are bereaved, peace to Israel and to all humanity, and let us say amen.
Amen.
Let me just call your attention to the Shabbat announcement leaflet and invite you to peruse the announcements that are listed there. Those of you who would like to help Sisterhood bake chalot for the high holy days can use your summer days productively as listed there. Please be in touch with Cheryl Tuff. And we call your attention to the outdoor Shabbat on Friday, August 5th, weather permitting, celebrating the beginning of a return to the congregation, and which we will climax to during the High Holy Days, and an opportunity to greet Rabbi and Hal and Jenna Shevitz and their lovely daughters, Naomi and Ariel. And Rabbi Hal will conduct a Tisha B'Av observance on Saturday, August 6th at 6 p.m. More information will be going out about that. Our closing song, Kol Ha'olam Kulo, page 848. This is a very pertinent song for certain times and transitions, times of concern, times of uncertainty, which we are certainly living through. So let us join in singing Kol Ha'olam, a song of uncertainty, but also of affirmation and of hope.
כל העולם כולו גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד. דהעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. דהעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. דהעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. בהעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. כל העולם כולו גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשת צר מאוד, גשת צר מאוד. דהעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. דהעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining us for our Shabbat evening services. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
And thanks to Tori Irving for keeping us connected to the world.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be back. I have 2 daughters. Well, she was a baby. She was 5 months old when we left, so yeah.